Friends, let's agree that life on earth is sometimes tragic, and that there are things that happen on this top side of earth that cause the heart to tremble, that causes us to lose hope, that causes us to question whether there is God up there. What would you do when you go through a tragic event and your life as you know it right now comes to a shattering stop, and you discover that you can no longer live the way you've known life to be? We came to Lesotho, to Maseru. You can see the beautiful city of Maseru in the background. Lovely people, but also there are stories of tragedy in Maseru. We went to Maluti, recorded a testimony of a man who's taken 23 years after the tragedy. It's a story worth sharing. What happened? How did he survive it? How has he managed to pick up his life and still live? How does he end up still believing that there is God and that he can still serve him? I invite you to come with me. Let's walk this journey. Let's hear perhaps how the Lord can turn circumstances that were meant to destroy us for his own glory. And may God bless you as you sit back and watch this story. See you next time. This is MelVee from MelVee Video Productions in Maseru. God bless you.
That is it. We are back again on the program.
Indeed.
We are back again on the air. Our viewers are watching. Our viewers are listening. Our viewers are awaiting the tragic story of your life at one point in time. But maybe to the viewers I should say that's what happened. That's one of the events that took place, but we thank God that you are still here and you can still share with us with a smile even today. Let us go to that day, that fateful day that changed your life. That is what. Can you just tell us exactly what happened? When did it happen? Where were you going? What was happening? What was going on in your mind?
It happened in 1993. That was April the 30th, I should believe so, Ntate.
Mm-hmm.
I was from home, that is Mahalesoek, coming back to Maluti Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
It was about 9 or 10, round about in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to the town, which is Mahalesoek, it was raining on that day.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a dog that I tried to avoid hitting. But when I was trying to avoid this dog, I was not aware that I was already now out of the road. And when the car was sleeping, since then really I cannot tell exactly what happened. But I can only remember myself or see myself lying on the ground in water.
So you got an accident as we were trying to avoid hitting the dog. What type of a car were you driving?
That was a golf car.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got this accident trying to avoid.
I was trying to avoid
the
a dog. Yes.
Okay. So you find yourself lying in the water.
I found myself lying in the water. As I said, it was raining on that day. It was water just nearby the road. And if I remember well, at that particular time, there were about 2 people who were just watching at the accident scene.
Hmm.
And those are the people, I think, who came first, though I cannot tell what they did to me because I was unconscious by then.
Okay.
Hmm.
Then the next point, what did you see next? Or what do you remember then?
From there, I only realized sometime that I'm in a big light. What is happening here? Realizing that I'm in a big light, not being aware that I'm in hospital now, I was trying to look or trying to move, and when I tried to move, my head could not move. My hands could not move. I was just surprised, what is happening here? This big light. And I tried to call, where am I? And somebody came close to me and said, no, you are in hospital. And that was then that I realized, oh yeah, there are some other beds around me. But it was now difficult for me to move the body, not even a hand. To me, it was a surprising thing because I never knew somebody who had had an accident like that. I was just really puzzled. What is happening with me? Why the hand cannot move? Why can I not move the leg? Only to hear that, no, you got an accident. And when I looked at myself, I could not see a wound. And I said, wow, how do they say I got an accident but there's no wound in me?
So there was no blood or anything?
There was no blood or anything with me. The body was just intact like that, but the fracture was there that I could not explain it, which is, it was on the neck. Later on, when I was in Pilinomis, only then that I realized, oh, this is a very, very serious thing. When I saw some other patients now who had the same accident.
So you are in this hospital in Maseru?
And I was in Mokhothu originally.
Okay. Then from that hospital, you were moved to another hospital?
From Mokhothu Hospital, I was moved to Queen 2 in Maseru.
Yeah. What happened there when you were in Maseru? What did they say? How did they explain what happened to you, why you were there?
When we
After they explained that, no, it was an accident, they said, so why can't you go home? Why can't you move your legs? Why can't you move your body?
When we left Mokhothu, by then I could understand that I'm now in a very big dilemma. Although exactly we could not then identify exactly what was happening, but it was said that I had a fracture on the neck. So that could not enable any part of the body to move except the head by then. Then I was transferred from Mokhothu to Maseru in about 2 or 3 days. When we arrived at Maseru, with a certain doctor who I really respect so much because he played a very great role, Dr. Makola. He was working at Maluti Hospital by then, and I understand that when he heard of that accident, he quickly ran to Mokhothu, and he's the one who asked those people to transfer me to Maseru. And when we arrived at Maseru, we came across another doctor who, after examinations, he said to them, because they could not talk to me, no, this person is a hopeless case, this one, we cannot do anything.
So Dr. Makola from Maluti Hospital,
Yes.
he went to Mokhothu to collect you?
Yes, Dr.
To
Makola.
take you to Queen 2?
He did that.
But what was he saying? What were you discussing with Dr. Makola?
There was not much to discuss, except that, no, we want to help you. So he
was determined that you get help?
Yeah, okay. We want to help you, so be patient. When we get to Queen 2, we will find some help. Okay. But unfortunately, when we got there, the doctor that we found really, I remember the words when he said, "This is a hopeless case."
How did this sink down into your heart the moment you come to the people that you expected to help you? The people that you have so much hope, and you have been transferred from one hospital with another doctor who says also you're going to get help there, and then they said it's hopeless. How did those words sink in your heart?
That was very painful, and really I don't know if there is anyone who could have accepted that easily.
What did it mean to you, the way you are interpreting it?
As he said that, to me it was just that I'm waiting only to hear, or I'm only waiting to hear that I am dying now.
So to you, it was more of a meaning that you're going to die.
Well,
It's
really,
not- okay.
that was the only thing one could see by then, because I was surprised completely by the unmovable parts of my body, which to me it was the first time I see it to any other person.
Okay. What happened after
Well,
after this conversation with this doctor?
after that conversation, I remember Dr. Makhola saying that, no, we have someone here maybe who could help by the name of Dr. Makhalanyane.
Okay.
Could you call him? And Dr. Makhalanyane was called. When he arrived, he looked at the x-rays, and after that he said, I don't know, but maybe pilonomy can help.
Okay.
But I wonder if this patient will get to pilonomy.
Okay.
So let's transfer him to pilonomy. There's really nothing we are going to do here.
Okay.
So I slept there for a night. Tomorrow morning I was transferred to Bloemfontein.
So
That is Pilonomy Hospital.
okay. So in Quinto, you meet these two. These are your fellow Christian doctors,
Yes.
Dr. Makhalanyane and
Yeah.
Dr. Makhola.
Yes.
But now then they are saying you're moving to the third hospital
To the third hospital now
in South Africa
in
now.
South Africa.
And they hope that there might be something that can be happened, but they are doubting whether you'll get there before time. At this particular time, what was going on in your mind in terms of this relationship you have with God? Since we are doing this testimony, we also want to understand, as the person going through this type of a tragedy, how does the relationship with God help in moving on, even when you have been told that the case is hopeless?
You know, in life general, I should think there's a time when one says prayer does help. But there's a time, I think, when one looks at life and says, I don't see anything that can help me. In fact, that was my situation by then. And I remember sometimes I said, God, have I not been praying very well? How should I do it now that something can be happening with me? And lastly, I remember saying to myself, I don't think there is anything I did that I would now have to do more than what I did. And by so saying so, I was transferred then to Bloemfontein with that slim hope that if I get there, maybe something will happen. Apart from there, really, to me, that was just a miracle.
Okay, so as we are moving to Bloemfontein, that is foot, I'm a bit captured by your statement about trying to relate your accident with you saving God.
Yes.
How did you pass that? Say, God, I don't know if there's anything more I could have done for you for me to be here. Why were you relating the accident with your relationship of the favors that God was supposed to show to you? Where does that come from? I'm just interested in that, maybe for the sake of all of us, because people continue to be in accidents, in tragedies, and many times people get confused. We get confused. Is it my own doing? Is it something that I did for me to fall under this tragedy? Can you just help us to pass there before we get to Bloemfontein?
I really cannot say exactly maybe the feeling that I had exactly by then. But all that I remember was that since I have been living, I have never come across this thing. And now here am I see myself in this terrible thing. Why God is allowing this to me? Is it because I did what? And then that's when I said, ultimately, even if now I can say I pray, I don't think I'll pray. I'll give a different prayer than what I have been doing. Because I was not thinking of any other thing. So I had to be moved to Bloemfontein with that slim hope.
Okay. Did you continue to pray?
I continued to pray.
In your heart?
In my heart.
Okay. What were you praying for?
As I had to, as a Christian, all I would think of mostly, it was my children and my wife now. My relatives, how do they feel at this particular juncture? To me, really, I could see the end. But thinking of those other people, then I would say, how are they going to relate to this? How are they going to feel? That was mostly what I was thinking or praying for, that at least they take it as part of the journey. To me, I could see the destiny probably by then.
What was that destiny?
Death only.
Okay. Then we move from there, that you are so discouraged that you're just seeing that you're going to die. Then you get to Bloemfontein. What happened in Bloemfontein, in this referral hospital, Pilenomi Hospital?
When we arrived at Pilenomi, if I remember well, even before we got there, it's like people were already waiting for me.
You got to that hospital, people are already waiting.
The people were
in the hospital.
Already
the doctors
waiting
and the nurses.
in the outpatient department. They were already, because when we got there, there were so many. And not really understanding this language of nurses, I can also remember as we got there, some of these doctors, one would say, no, I can't hear the pulse on this patient. And the next one comes and says, no, there's no pulse complaint. And the other one just somewhere there says, how do you say somebody has got no pulse while he's still looking at you? And
So they are carrying you, you are looking at them, and then you are hearing them talking about, did you understand the language of the pulse? What did they mean when they said there's no pulse?
I could not exactly understand, but
Okay.
I could hear the words. And I could hear the words, and not exactly understanding what is this pulse which is not and I see these people touching me on the hand, nearby the heart, and no pulse. What is this? I was all surprised, and they are not talking to me, they are talking to themselves.
Because you don't have a pulse. So I think it was great that you didn't understand pulse, because I think if you knew what pulse was, you could have died.
I don't know.
So after the pulse, then you are admitted in the hospital. Then what happens?
Immediately I was taken to the operating theater.
Mm-hmm.
When I got into the operating theater, I just remember some people would be taking some instruments, putting them just nearby my head.
Mm-hmm.
Before they began their surgery, I can remember one individual who came late, and he said, "No, you people stop, don't operate this patient." And they stopped.
Mm-hmm.
He looked at the x-rays. After looking at the x-rays, he said, "No, man, you are going to kill him. Let's try something else."
Mm.
They brought some other instruments. By then, I did not know what was this, but they put something on my head, which I understood it later on that was a traction.
Mm-hmm.
They put a traction on my head. When it was put on, I also remember that there was a problem when there was a time when whether they hit what is it, a blood vessel or what, something like that, and I only saw the blood going this way. And from there I don't know what happened to me again.
Where was the blood coming from?
On the head.
But you saw it passing through.
Yeah, I saw blood just going out just like that. And from there I don't know really what happened. When I waked up, I was in another place where I learned that there is a doctor was making a very big noise. "Why did you bring this patient here? Who was going to take care of this patient here? This patient is supposed to be where?" He mentioned the place where they took me to.
Mm-hmm.
From there, that was all that maybe one could say in admission happened.
Okay. Now you are in the hospital.
Now I am in the hospital. Yeah.
How long did you stay in the hospital, in that particular hospital, Pelonomi Hospital?
I believe it's about 9 months. It's about 9 months in that hospital. That I stayed for 9 months in Pelonomi.
But besides knowing the number of months, as we were calculating, how many years were you feeling that it's like you stayed there?
It was a long, to me it was as if it's a very long time really.
I understand.
It was a very long time because I have never been in hospital since then.
Okay.
That was the first time when I could lie in hospital.
Okay.
So a day for me, I think it was just too much.
So let's go while you are in the hospital. How did you cope in the hospital? What are the major events that are still in your mind that you can always recall that took place through this 9 months that you spent in the hospital from probably May 1993?
What happened is that
You're also aware that in 1993 a lot of events were taking place.
that's it.
South Africa was preparing for elections.
Lesotho
Lesotho had just gotten elections.
yeah.
There was a lot of liberation movement getting out, but it was at the time when you were now in the hospital.
Now in the hospital.
Yeah, trapped in the hospital.
And I can only remember, as you say, that that was only then when even our conference was about they were going for a session.
Mm-hmm.
When I think, if I remember well, that was the beginning of Pastor Chobokwane's
Okay.
in the office.
Yes.
That day, Pilonomi tend to be my home, really.
Mm-hmm.
Several things I can mention that happened in there. As a patient now, some of the things that I can remember is that I had never been fitted by any other person. I knew how to put a spoon in my mouth, but then I could not do it, and I had to wait for somebody to give me food. I had, when I've weed, had to wait for somebody
To come and help you.
to come and help me, of which it was an embarrassment, really. It was an embarrassment to me for a nurse or a lady to come and do that, all the taking care of me, knowing that I have been able to do these things, and now
You are no longer able
I am
to do it
no
yourself.
longer able to do them, and I can't exactly understand why these parts are not really working. Well, I can only remember, for me to understood it exactly, it was with an experience of other patients that I saw. There, some of them dying, but I can remember one patient, they told him that your spinal cord has been cut. I said to this patient after the nurses had left, brother, if I remember well, no one can live if the spinal cord is cut. So there's something these people have to tell you, not that.
You're saying this to this patient?
I was saying this to the patient.
Okay.
Said, I don't think your spinal cord is cut. There is something they would rather have to give. Unfortunately, this patient, he was a rough person. He went back to the nurses telling them that, no, I have just said that to him. And it was a little bit sour also to my relationship with the staff, because I had said something which is against what they are saying. But the doctor, when he heard that, he said, yeah, man, this patient is right. The spinal cord is not cut. There has been some dislocation or a fracture, but the spine itself is not cut. So the person can still live. Once the spine is cut, it is true that no one can live. I remember saying to this patient, when at home, when we kill a sheep, we make sure that we cut that inner part. Once it is cut,
You know that is dead.
we know, even if it can be kicking, but that will be the last kicks. It's dying. So you are not going to be like that as I see you. Because
Why were you saying that? Were you trying to encourage him that he's not dying, he's still okay, or he can be okay? What were you saying?
I was trying to say to him that you are still living,
Okay.
so you are not dying.
Okay. Let's get to that issue. This issue you got, and your relationship with him, your hopelessness sometimes. How did you work within the hospital? Did you continue to pray? Or how did you interact with other patients and the staff and then all that?
Oh, well, it was a little bit nice for me now getting to understand the hospital. In fact, let me say the first thing that I was not very comfortable with. Each and every time I would hear the doctor when he comes in the hospital giving the instructions about these other patients. We were about 10 or 15 patients in the same ward. So I would listen to him when he tells the story of each and every patient from the beginning to the end. When he comes to me, he would say, this is Sefuthi from Lesotho with this accident, and he passed. And I would always ask myself, why is this doctor not telling these people what is going to happen with me? While I've heard with these other patients that he would be saying, you have to do this and that for him, then this and that will happen. To me, it just says, no, this is so and so from Lesotho, this is what happened to him, and he stops there. Up until when I had to ask him, doctor, why are you not giving the full story on me? I'm listening when you always do it to other patients. Why not on me? And unfortunately, by that day, when I asked that question, there was, what do they call her, this individual one? Occupational therapist was nearby. And this occupational therapist said, Sefuthi, your case is very different to this other patient, so don't compare yourself with them.
And what did that mean?
To me, it complicated things again. My case is not like these others. We cannot be compared. Why?
Was it worse or?
No, it was, to her it was worse.
Okay.
So these other patients, they could explain to them, they would even bring the skeleton to them. Just show him, as we do this, look at this part, it's moving like this. So this is what is going to happen with you. But to me, they would never do that.
Okay.
But as she said that, she brought the next time she brought the skeleton and said, then since you are interested in knowing what is going to happen with you, we will try to explain to you. And now this time is an occupational therapist, not the doctor.
Who is explaining this to you?
Who is explaining this to me.
Yeah.
She showed me the skeleton, all the parts that are affected to me, and after that said, to you now is a difficult thing because this fracture on the bones has completely compressed the spine.
Aye.
So we don't know what is going to happen to you.
So your case was considered to be worse because the spine was compressed.
Yes.
Okay. So now you
Crushed,
understood
yeah.
why they were not relating to you like the rest of the
Now I understood a little bit why they could not be giving the story to me.
people. Okay.
But to me that was a relief because
Okay.
I remember saying to this occupational therapist, you people are not God. God can still do something on this.
So you took her back and said, okay, you are not God. God can't do that.
Yeah.
That my case become the most hopeless.
The most hopeless one. I remember that one. I said it really, and she was not happy with me apparently because
Maybe we can hold it there, Ntate Sefuthi, on this issue. We'll continue with it again to look from there, then what happened up to the stage where we are, so that people can see this tragedy, and also see hope in the people who believe in God.
Thank you, Ntate.